What if you could get the profound systemic benefits of a multi-day water fast whenever you wanted without having to actually go through the grueling process of a full-blown fast? What if there was a few key ingredients that actually flip this entire genetic switch for cellular cleanup on demand? And what if the primary key to all of this was something that you probably had in your kitchen or your pantry? Olive oil. Now, I know what you're thinking. Olive oil has calories, so it defeats the entire purpose of a fast. It's pure fat. How on earth can that help you actually get the benefits of a fast? It sounds completely wrong. Well, it's because we're not using it for the calories. We're using it as sort of a Trojan horse. So we're using it to deliver this signaling molecule that actually sort of tricks your body into activating a really powerful health and longevity protocol. So this whole program is built on cutting-edge biochemistry, and we're breaking it all down right now. I'm going to break this video down into a few chunks. We're going to talk about how you can use olive oil specifically during a fast. Then we're going to talk about another kind of fat and oil that you can use. And then lastly, we're going to talk about another thing you can add into the mix that exacerbates all of this in a positive way. So let's go ahead and dive in. But first, I put a link down below for something that might help you out when it comes to fasting. It's a 30% off discount link for Thrive Market. So whenever you're shopping for food, it's really difficult to find things that have good quality ingredients. Thrive Market makes sure that anything they bring into their store passes a lot of tests. They turn away thousands of products and ingredients because they are sticklers about what they bring on their shelves. So that link down below gets you 30% off your entire first grocery order through Thrive Market and gets you a free gift when you use that link. So down below, underneath this video in the top line of the description. So if we dive into this initial mechanism with olive oil, it really turns into like a master switch. It's really the entire secret that this protocol comes down to. It's one molecule, it's in olive oil. It's called olearopin. This is the compound that gives the real high-quality early harvest olive oil that really kind of sharp, bitter, peppery kick that you feel in the back of your throat, that little like tickle that you get. If your olive oil is smooth and buttery, yeah, it makes you want to chug it, but it's ultimately useless for the entire thing we're talking about. That little cough, that peppery bite that you get, that's literally the signal. That is the key. So how does this molecule trick your body? Well, it hijacks your master metabolic switch. So inside every cell, you have two sort of competing signals, like they're always going against each other. You have mTOR, which is the growth and abundance sensor. When you eat and you spike your insulin, mTOR is active, and it sort of puts a hard smashing brake on all cellular cleanup and repair. AMPK is the opposite. It's sort of the low fuel sensor. So when it's activated, its first job is to sort of silence mTOR. It takes the foot off the brake and it kind of unleashes your body's cleanup crew, so to speak. Here's the trick though. Olearopin has been shown in studies to directly activate AMPK and directly suppress mTOR. So this is the critical point. By consuming just a tiny bit of a specific olive oil, like one that has that peppery taste, you are manually flipping that AMPK master switch. You're literally sending a powerful, like low fuel signal even when your body hasn't been in a deep fast. That is a serious hack. You don't have to be fasting. It's a biohack. It lets you completely bypass the normal waiting period and get straight to the benefits. I mean, you're not in a literal caloric deficit the same that you would be with fasting, but still. So now you've used olive oil to flip the AMPK switch, but what does that actually do? So by silencing mTOR, that pro-growth signal, AMPK sort of starts your body's most powerful, really this intelligent cleanup process. And you've heard me talk about it before. It's called autophagy. So this is the special forces unit, in essence, that goes to war with a cascade of bunch of different dysfunction, like mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular dysfunction, you name it. So first, it attacks what are called protein aggregates. These are misfolded proteins that they sort of clump together, and it jams up your entire cellular machinery. So they form the plaques and the tangles. These are all the things that are associated with a bunch of chronic disease and a bunch of metabolic dysfunction. And quite frankly, autophagy is the only thing that can systematically identify, engulf, and recycle this junk. The next thing it does is it hunts down and it destroys the damaged mitochondria. So your mitochondria are sort of your power plants, but they're also like a battery. So they have really even this quantum level energy. It's wild. But when they get damaged, it's like a nuclear reactor melting down. It doesn't just stop energy production. It actually spews out free radicals that can cause a bunch of oxidative stress. So this ends up damaging your DNA. It causes lipid peroxidation, where your fats essentially get oxidized, and it ends up damaging more proteins. So the process of something called mitophagy, which is a specific autophagy of the mitochondria, specifically targets and removes these leaky power plants that are causing this problem. Then the next step, it goes through and it eradicates zombie cells. So these are kind of a colloquial name for what are called senescent cells. So these are damaged cells that refuse to die. So instead of pumping out a constant source of inflammatory signals that damage a bunch of the neighboring cells, this creates a vicious cycle called inflammaging, something I've talked about a lot on this channel. In fact, I'll link to a video right there if you want to check it out. This is that chronic sort of low buzz, low grade inflammation. It's a key driver of almost every single age-related disease. So autophagy is one of those few things that can eliminate these zombies. Finally, it can reboot your immune system. So your immune system cells rely heavily on autophagy to clear out pathogens that they've engulfed and to regulate their own inflammatory signals. So without it, your immune system becomes weak, becomes confused, and ultimately it just doesn't have the same immune response that it used to have. But I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can induce autophagy. We can exercise, we can fast, we can sit in a sauna. So I'm not saying that fasting is the only way to activate autophagy, or what I'm talking about right now is the only way to activate it. I'm just saying this is a really powerful way where you don't even have to really fast. In a little bit, I'm going to explain exactly how you might want to segment your day, how you might want to have the olive oil coming in, when you want to add it, how much, but you had to kind of lay the framework there. So flipping that AMPK switch with olive oil is step one. Now, how do we continue that process and make it exponentially more powerful? We send in reinforcements in the form of ketones if we can. So ketones are not just fuel, they're sophisticated signaling molecules. So you don't have to be in ketosis. Even though when you're doing this kind of olive oil fasting, you are probably in ketosis realistically, but you could use an amplifier. So I've talked about MCT oil before. If you use specifically C8 MCT oil, it's the fastest way to get your liver to produce ketones. So you're already in this deficit state. You're already kind of using olive oil. You're already having autophagy. You're already primed to produce these ketones. Now you just provide yourself with MCT oil as a really stable fuel for your brain and keep you sharp and keep you feeling good while also increasing ketone production naturally. So this is going to help you feel significantly better. If you don't want to use MCT oil, or if you want to just add on top of MCT oil, you could use exogenous ketones. So consuming a ketone like beta-hydroxybutyrate, this is directly where we get into deep cellular programming because ketones have a unique effect. So they're what is called an epigenetic modulator. So it acts as what's called an HDAC inhibitor. So think of your DNA as sort of like a locker room, or maybe a library is a better way to put it. HDACs keep the most powerful books, like your survival genes. It keeps them locked up. When ketones are produced, beta-hydroxybutyrate, or even in supplement form, it inhibits these HDACs, and that unlocks access to a bunch of different longevity genes. We're talking FOXO3, which activates pathways for stress resistance and DNA repair. You're literally upgrading your cellular software. So it's not like, hey, this is just about carbs being bad and fats being good. We're talking about a molecule that has tremendous power. It's a direct anti-inflammatory signal, and it binds to a specific receptor even on your fat cells. It's called, I was talking to Dr. Dom D'Agostino about this, it's called GPR109A, and that sends a signal to reduce the release of inflammatory free fatty acids, which creates like this systemic full body anti-inflammatory effect. BHB enhances a bunch of different efficiency in the body too. It influences what's called the HIF-1 pathway. And this is the master regulator of how your cells respond to low oxygen, like when you're working out or when you're in a sauna or at altitude. And this makes your mitochondria a lot more strong and efficient at producing energy with less waste. It's literally teaching them to be better at using their oxygen. So then when we get into the actual protocol and the takeaways from this, like how do you use your olive oil? How do you use the MCT oil to mimic a fast and get this huge autophagy benefit? Well, instead of a 24-hour water fast, which I personally love to do, in this case, you'd eat dinner the night before. And then for the entire next day, you use this protocol instead of your normal meals. So you could have it once in the morning and then again in the early afternoon. And that way you're kind of flooding your body with these signals for autophagy and just other benefits, especially with just cellular repair. So step one is the base. So in a glass, you're going to take a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of really good quality extra virgin olive oil. Okay, you can do a little bit more, but why add the extra calories if you don't want to? Then you add an amplifier. So you can add like a teaspoon of MCT oil or realistically, exogenous ketones. So you could add ketones to it, or you could do MCT to get a natural boost of ketones plus exogenous ketones. Then what you'd want to do is you'd want to continue to have a teaspoon or 2 of olive oil every few hours, because the benefits of the olive oil, what we're actually going for, this autophagy inducing effect, it lasts about 2 to 3 hours based on the research, at least the rodent model research. So you want to kind of keep it going. But realistically, and I was talking to Dr. Dom D'Agostino about this, he did this thing called a sardine fast, where he was talking about, he just ate 500 calories worth of sardines in olive oil per day for like 2 days. And it has these huge effects, almost like it's a fast, except you're keeping calories and maintaining muscle. Before we get into the takeaways and kind of bring this all back, just remember, like, you can keep your calories as high as you really want, because insulin is the issue here that we're trying to keep away from. Not saying that insulin is bad. But insulin is going to stand in the way of this mTOR suppression. It's going to stand in the way of this whole AMPK thing we talked about. So when we recap, we got to keep in mind, calories matter, but I'm really not concerned about you going crazy on calories because you're probably not going to do 2,000 calories worth of olive oil. Maybe try to limit it around 750 at the most. So if we recap, takeaway number one, you're systemically fighting this inflammation and you're launching a multi-pronged attack, clearing out the zombie cells, recycling the damaged mitochondria. You're trying to reduce those free radicals and you're activating that fat pathway, that GPR109A, to calm the entire systemic inflammation. Okay, takeaway two, you're rebooting your immune intelligence. You're promoting autophagy within your immune cells. You're helping them to become more efficient at clearing pathogens, and you're ultimately making it smarter. And then takeaway three, you're activating your longevity genes. So you're using BHB or ketones as an HDAC inhibitor. So you're unlocking sort of your body's own survival and repair genes. So FOXO3 and some of these other what are called autophagosomes. Then takeaway number four, you're building a metabolically flexible engine. Okay, you're training your body to efficiently run on ketones and you're teaching it to be able to also increase autophagy. This is all a critical set of skills really when it comes down to energy stability, metabolic health, effortless really weight management and being able to switch back and forth from fats to carbs. So this is a clinical strike against the root causes of metabolic issues, really. It's a tool that you can deploy whenever you decide it's time for a deep cellular metabolic and genetic reset. So you're in control of this and you don't have to do these really long fasts. You can do it for, 1 day, you can do it for 2 days, and all you're doing is literally adding olive oil, capitalizing on the benefits of this oleoropin, which is a crazy cool compound. So I did another video here that talks about a unique kind of fasting called protein pacing. And this video got like 500,000 views in just a couple of weeks talking about how it reduces visceral fat. So check that one out. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.